Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm part of a blog hop that Altenew is having, celebrating some brand new stamps and dies and lots of goodies over at the shop. This blog hop is called Fresh Start, and there is a giveaway that goes with it, so I encourage you guys to hop along and join in some fun. The products that I'm using are part of the brand new release, and this is a stamp set called Block Sentiments. I think it's super neat that they include brochures for one, because it gives you color palette ideas, just shows you how that they use the stamps. And then there's also some cover pieces that you could just cut and then put on a card front, and you have an instant card. So love these little brochures. The stamp set has a lot of encouraging sentiments in here. It would be easy. Nope. Will it be worth it? Definitely. How cute is that? This too shall pass. I love you. Stop wishing, start doing. So lots of fun, encouraging sentiments. I'm also going to be using a cover plate die. This is called the Grid Cover Plate, or Grid Cover Die. It is a card front size, so we'll cut out a card front panel that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and there's a whole bunch of grid lines on here. This is nice because it's versatile. For today's project, I'm also going to be using a 3D stencil. This is called the Ribbon Waves, and I loved the detail in here. I love the wave look. I just think it looks very relaxing and soothing, and so we'll make 2 cards today using a few of these items. Actually, all of the items that I showed you today. We're going to jump in and create some colorful background panels. I have some Strathmore Bristol smooth cardstock here, and I'm bringing in 3 of my little mini ink cubes and my blending brush. I've been choosing some very bright colors lately, and I just think it's just cheery and makes me smile. The pink here that I'm using is called Coral Berry, and it is that one, and then the Frayed Leaf, the green ink, are part of a little mini ink, floral ink set. The yellow that I'm going to be using is Butternut, and it is from my Fall Harvest mini ink cube set. And I'll link everything below if you guys want to check it out. But I'm just blending my panels together with my blending brush. I love when you mix the pink with the yellow. It creates a real pretty corally color. And then I love when you add green to the yellow. It just softens that green. I'm just making sure that it's blended in between. And then I sped it up really fast. You can see, you can skip forward if it's making you dizzy. Sorry about that. But I'm going to basically do 2 panels the same exact way. Just ink blending, slowly going up there, and then once I meet the yellow, we can blend them both together to create a real pretty soft fade in. I think that's going to work out fabulous. Love this color combination. Now after we have this panel done, I'm going to bring in another piece of Strathmore Bristol smooth cardstock and do the same exact thing. And so we have 2 panels. Now by the time I had did my first panel, the second panel had dried a little bit, and then the color actually pulled back. You could see here. That was the one we just did, and then this one I had did earlier. The colors had pulled back a little bit, but we're going to use both of them for our projects today. Next, I'm going to take my grid cover die, and I'm taking some white cardstock here. I'm going to line it up behind my die and then run this through my die cut machine. And all those little squares are going to pop out. I started to pop them out, but as I looked at this, I thought, wow, I kind of like this. Kind of looks like a crossword puzzle. So I kept them in. There was a few pieces that kept popping out, but that's okay. I think it just added to the effect. Now I'm going to set this aside and bring in some adhesive sheets from Altenew. These are new to the shop. Love these. They're double-sided adhesive sheets. I'm going to trim down a panel that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I am going to add this adhesive sheet directly over the top of my ink blended panel. Just making sure it's secured down. Now I wasn't sure how cloudy my adhesive sheet was going to be and if you could see the color through. If it didn't work, I probably would have tried something different and had an ink blend and a brand new panel. But you can see the colors through it. It does fade it down a little bit, but I just went with it. After my adhesive sheet is added to my ink blended panel, we're going to add our die cut piece right over the top. Slowly, so all my little squares don't pop out. I'm going to press that down carefully, and then any of the little individual squares that kind of shifted, we're just going to push those back in their home. And I think that looks so fun. We have a couple pieces that popped out, and I was going to use my craft pick to adhere, and I thought, you know, let's bring in my jewel picker. It has a wax tip, and it'll be easier, and it won't add a pokey hole in each one of my little squares. So you can arrange this anyhow or any way that you would like. I kind of like the organic look of the way it popped out naturally, and so you could even create an image in the background if you wanted to. Now the colored portion is still adhesive backed, but I have a method to remove the adhesive sheets. I do want to add a little contrast with some black cardstock, so I'm taking my grid cover die and I'm going to run that through, and I just want the squares of this. The positive piece I can keep for another project, but I just really wanted the negative squares that popped out. I'm going to add a few in my background just to make the colors, since they are on the lighter side, I wanted them to be a little bit more bold and to stand out. And then I am happy with the way this looks. Okay, now I'm going to bring in some scratch paper. You can see that that's still sticky, and if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. I think you could use your anti-static powder tool to get rid of the tackiness. But I'm going to bring in some glitter. I'm using some unicorn dust from Simon Says Stamp, and going over my panel on the colored areas. And once I have my glitter, this is like a real iridescent soft glitter. A clear glitter would work really good too. I'm just using my finger to press it in, so it's sticking to all those open areas that have adhesive exposed, and so we have a little bit of a glittery background. I love the way this turned out, and the sparkle in it. It's hard to tell with the camera, but there's lots of sparkle too. So that's my background panel. I'm just going to clean up my mess, and then we are going to stamp our sentiment. For this card, we're going to use our block sentiment stamp set. This is a larger stamp set. It's a 6x8 set, and there is some circles in there. One circle says I, the other one has a heart, and then another one says you. I thought that would be perfect for the center of our card. I'm going to go ahead and add my panel directly to an A2 size card base, just pressing that down. And then we are going to stamp using the same colors of ink that we used to create our ink blended background. So bring in some cardstock, and then I'm also going to bring in my Misty. Since the circles are solid, I thought we would probably have to do a little bit of double stamping. So bringing in my mini Misty and a piece of white cardstock, I added my sentiment here. Pop that one back in place there. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp with the same ink. This is frayed leaf. We'll stamp that a few times with the eye, and then my next color will be the butternut. I'll stamp that a few times with the heart, and then my third color is with the coral berry, and that is the U. So we're going to make an I love you card, kind of like an everyday. It could be for Valentine's Day, but every day is nice also. Okay, now there is a coordinating die set for the block sentiments. I'll list that down below if you guys want the coordinating die set, but the shapes in here are pretty basic, and I thought it'd be easy to fussy cut out. I'm actually using a punch, a 1-inch circle punch, to punch out my sentiment circles, and it worked out perfect. It left a little bit of a white border around it. We'll just punch out all of these letters. After we have these punched out, I'm going to bring in some foam adhesive, and then we're going to add that behind our sentiment. This is going to go almost like a stoplight right down the middle of my card front. I think that's going to be really fun, but they kind of got lost. I wanted my sentiment to stand out a little bit more, so I went through my circle dies and found a circle die that cut out a circle that was, I would say, maybe 1 1/4 inch circle. I'm going to go ahead and mat each one of my I love yous on some black cardstock that I die cut out with the circle die. And this is just going to make it stand out and be a little bit more bold, and I was way happier with the way this turned out. It just kind of flowed all together with my little black squares on there. We'll pop these up, kind of arrange them in the center. I'm not pressing down just yet before I'm going to find my placement before we actually press them down. You want to be careful because you could actually lift up each one of those squares. But I think that's going to look perfect. Pretty clean and simple card, but very sparkly. I think that's going to work out just fine. We'll press those down there. And then that finishes card 1. If you want to put glossy accents over there, you very well could, but I like the matte color of the I love you. So that's my first card. We're going to move along to our second card, which is a pretty basic card. I'm taking my second ink blended panel, and I'm going to be using the 3D ribbon waves. This is a 6x6 embossing folder, and it creates some very deep 3D effects. And in the camera, you can see the waves in here, but the camera in real life, it's really predominant. And I mean, it just stands out so nice. I embossed my panel, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and follow along the green wave on the very bottom and create just a little bit of a wave there. After we have that cut out, I'm going to bring in some black cardstock. I'm going to use the same piece that I used to cut out my circles. I'm just going to trim it off, those circles off. And then I thought we'd add a little bit of a black accent. When you use bright colors like this, sometimes when you bring in a bold black, it just makes it stand out, just makes it pop. I'm going to add that to the very bottom, and then I'm going to just follow along my cut line with that same wave. I had a little excess glue on my panel. I'm just rubbing it off. But we're going to just follow along the wave and trim out a little black border. Just using my scissors here. Now after we have this panel done, I'm going to go ahead, I think we're going to take a little bit of pink off the very top. Bringing in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim off maybe about 1/4 inch of that pink off the very top. And then we're going to flip this panel over. I'm going to add foam tape behind it to give this card a little bit of dimension. I'm just going to add behind my panel, and then we'll place this on our card front. Now before we do that, I thought maybe we would stamp our sentiment. A lot of solid images in the stamp set, and I like that because you can use your inks in any color you want. I'm going to go with the black ink, so I took the sentiment that says "You are amazing." I'm going to stamp that with black ink, and I'm also going to stamp the heart in the set. I'm going to stamp it with black ink also. I wanted an accent piece, and I wanted to just make it clean and a very simple card. And again, there are dies that coordinate with this. But I'm going to use my scissors, fussy cut out my sentiment and the heart, leaving a little bit of a white border around it. And then once these are cut, we're going to go ahead and adhere our panel to our card base. I found it easier if we actually flipped over our card base and then added it. This way the top is nice and even and flush. Just flip it over, add our panel, and then we can press down. Lines it up beautifully. I am going to add foam adhesive behind my sentiment that says "You are amazing." We're going to add that a little bit to the left on our card front, and then I'm going to pop up my little heart and add that right next to the sentiment. Kind of a very clean, easy, a very simple card, but I just like the simplicity of it. Okay, I am going to accent my little black heart there with my white gel pen. Just going to add a little backward C mark along the edge of the heart, just so it gives it a little bit of dimension. And then that finishes off my second project. So those are my cards today. I encourage you guys to join in the blog hop. You are going to have so much fun, and there is a giveaway to go along with it. The links for that are down below in the description area. Have a fabulous day. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again soon.